I don't like bonus action healing potions. I never have. Not when it was a homebrew rule, and not now that it's an official rule. It still kind of rubs me the wrong way. Yes, it is very convenient for a player, but it makes healing up super easy to the point where it barely feels like a decision. If you need to heal, you can sort of just do it, without thinking, without sacrificing much. Potions as an action, however, create a much more meaningful choice between choosing to heal or doing something else to impact the battle. When you have to give up such an important resource like your action, it makes the decision to get healing in a much more difficult one. So you spend your whole turn healing because it takes an action, which is boring as hell, and now you have to wait a whole nother round to be able to actually play the game, and during that round you get hit again for just as much damage as you healed, and you're back to square one. All you did was skip a turn to make the encounter last longer. Maybe my players will realize that too, and by keeping potions as an action, it will make them incentivized to use them outside of combat. No, they'll still just try and use them in combat, and it will make things very boring. Which is fair, it's a fair move on their part. They're low on health, it's only logical to want to try and fix that. It took me far too long to realize that I just don't like healing potions. Action, bonus action, it doesn't matter, I have problems with both. And I should have recognized this in myself sooner because I don't like most consumable items across all gaming. It's all for different reasons depending on the specific game, but the thing that translates to D&D the strongest is this sense of artificially beating an encounter. That is to say, overcoming a challenging fight not with clever thinking, not implementing new combat strategies, not even by simply having good rolls, but rather by having enough resources to outlast it. Often when I use a consumable item in a video game to get across some kind of obstacle, it leaves me feeling sort of hollow. I could have gotten better at the game, improved and adapted, but instead I had the right tool that just let me bypass any form of learning. This is especially prevalent in games where consumables can be easily purchased. Therefore, you can win encounters by throwing enough gold at the problem. If I'm struggling with something in a game, I want to feel a provocation. I want to feel a challenge to have to work my way through it, to find a way to overcome it. I never want to say, man, guess I should have spent more money at the last shop. I could probably spend all day on this topic, getting into all the details of my relationship with consumable game items. It's a lot more nuanced than I've explained so far, but I need to keep things concise, and hopefully I've been able to convey the general idea as to why these mechanics usually aren't for me. When you throw us out of the video game medium and into TTRPGs, though, things get even messier. The relationship between player and consumable can change drastically depending on how each table likes to play the game. Whether your game is one that's super roleplay heavy, if it's a combat-filled dungeon crawl, whether potions are abundant, scarce, or anywhere in between. When I'm running a game, I do not want my players to feel like they can buy their way through encounters, nor do I want them to feel like they need to buy healing potions over spending money on something more fun. But I usually run games where magic items are fairly common, and if players ask to go out and buy some healing potions, it's kind of tough to say no in that environment given how cliche of a magic item healing potions are. It's something of an expectation for the genre. I also don't really love balancing encounters around games with lots of consumables. If my party has a ton of healing potions, they could make an otherwise very difficult fight pretty easy. And on the contrary, if they use way less health potions than I expect them to, I might make a fight a little bit too deadly. Yes, I could keep track of how many healing potions they have, but I know my flaws. I won't. I have told myself to do that for years. No matter what approach a table I'm at takes to healing potions, it never sits quite right. It's always just shy of satisfying. But I just started running a new campaign, and I haven't actually introduced any healing potions yet. So shall we start brainstorming? Alternate ideas for healing potions, what if? See, I don't want to remove the concept of healing potions from my game. I think it's just too ingrained in the culture. But I think I can get away with transforming it. And where better to start for inspiration than a game series that took everything I like about healing potions and kept it, and threw away everything that I don't. Enter From Software and the Estus Flask, truly the most in-your-face evolution of a healing potion there is. If you're not familiar with the Estus Flask, it basically works just like a healing potion does in every other game. But it's not truly consumable. It starts with 5 charges. When you need to heal, you use up a charge. But you don't find more though. Once you use it up, that is all the healing you get until either A, you find a new checkpoint, or B, you die and you restart from your last checkpoint. For every section of the game you go through, every attempt you make, you have the same 5 uses of healing to play with. There's no spending gold, there's no consumables getting used up, there's no need to go and find more. It's just a free, recurring 5-charge health potion. Boo! Editing bay jump scare. Jump scare from the editing bay. Haha. This is to save you from the actual jump scare that is my footage jumping from one shot that I originally filmed in the night to the morning after because I thought I could get away with doing that. I cannot. It's very obvious and weird. You might think with this video in between, it doesn't seem like the 2 shots are that different, but when they're back to back, they are. So, yeah. Now, the relationship D&D has to healing potions is not very similar to the relationship FromSoft games have to their respective Estus Flasks. But this basic idea of a consistent number of charges does fix several of my potion pet peeves. I think you could make a magic item that works exactly like healing potions, or maybe tweak the numbers a little bit, but it has set uses that reset every dawn. This item could be a refilling healing potion, similar to an Estus Flask, or it could be a magical crystal that works like a recharging battery, or a holy amulet that connects to a god. It could be anything, really. You could just take the Staff of Healing and strip its attunement requirement and give your party that. When I introduce this to my current campaign, I think I'm going to make it a piece of arcanotech that works like a pocket defibrillator. Not like an actual defibrillator, mind you, but more of the, here's a shock to wake you up kind of Hollywood defibrillator. Something that fills you with adrenaline and numbs your pain like Novocaine. It's not a substitute for proper medical care, but it's enough to get you through a fight. With an item like this, I always know how many healing potions my party has access to, so no more worrying about them going into an encounter without any. And my players won't ever forget to buy healing potions again, so no more feeling bad about going into an encounter without any. It standardizes what item-based healing looks like for the adventuring day, and sets an expectation for how frequently it can be used. It just becomes more reliable. Also, for some reason, when I play with these mechanics, it feels less cheap. I don't fully know what it is, but there's something about the consistency of Estus Flask style healing that just feels more rewarding as a game mechanic. As though that healing is supposed to be used, it's not just an option I could have had. There is no more saying, man, I should have spent more money at that last shot. Oh, and you may have noticed that I set it to use your bonus action, and I think that's the right call by far if you want your healing potions to be used during combat. It's just way more fun to be able to do something else impactful on the same turn that you heal. It is a player-centric design, and I do think it's how potions should be by default. But you can change it if you want. If you want to go in the opposite direction and create a game environment where healing is supposed to be primarily used outside of combat, I don't recommend making your healing items take only an action, because like I said earlier, in my experience, players will try and use it in combat anyway, which is fair. Like, typically step 1 to win a fight is don't die. Instead, you could take the Prayer of Healing approach, which is a spell that takes 10 minutes to cast before anyone gets any healing. It can't be used during combat. I think implementing something as this as your main source of item-based healing communicates a pretty clear playstyle. One where your players know their healing source can only be accessed between encounters, so they have to plan accordingly. I do think 10 minutes is a bit long, though. It doesn't feel like quite the right sweet spot between immediately getting your healing in and taking a full hour to short rest. I'd probably do something more akin to 1 minute. That just sounds more appropriate. But it wouldn't have to be. I feel like this is kind of akin to those alternate resting rules in the Dungeon Master's Guide, the ones that make a short rest take 8 hours and a long rest several days. If that's the kind of vibe you're going for, then play around with it. Go for that. I think there are a lot of different ways you can make out-of-combat healing potions work. An item like this could look similar to a healer's kit with a bunch of different tools that you need to apply to the wounds over time. Or maybe it's a bunch of ingredients used in a Wiccan ritual. Maybe it's a urn full of phoenix ashes that you have to coat your wounds in. A bardic instrument that requires a short song? It could look like anything, really. Another approach you could take is to have any of these healing ideas, be it the Estus Flask, Prayer of Healing style, or regular healing potions, come with diminishing returns. Each time they use it within a given adventuring day, they get less health back. Regular potions could start at 44 plus 4, like they usually do. Oh, the internet's gonna ruin me. That's greater healing potions. Greater healing potions start at 44. Regular is 2d4. Fuck. And drop off from there. The next time they use it, it's 3d4 plus 3, and then 2d4 plus 2, so on and so forth. This can allow your players to have as many healing items on them as they want, but still be limited within a given time frame. I started to realize with my Estus Flask design that players could try to hoard them, keep a bunch on their person, and just use a ton of healing all the time, but Then I realized I don't think my players are going to do that. I think they'll see what I'm going for and accept it as it is, so who cares? And if they do try and find exploits, then I will do what I always do, and I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. Maybe I can add in limitations, like these diminishing returns, or better yet, I can just sit down with my players and try to level with them with what I'm attempting to accomplish here. And you can do similar sorts of things to adjust these items to how your players play. Plenty of times I have made unique healing items, but I never thought about using them in place of healing potions. It was always an addition to. And I'm sure that's not a fully original idea. This is probably a concept that's been toyed with plenty in the past, especially with the Estus Flask. I mean, that is too iconic of a game item for people not to have ported it into D&D. I don't hear a lot of people talking about it though. It doesn't seem like a common conversation, even though it's a very fun idea to play around with. So hopefully this video can be a little kickstart for you to start having that conversation and to get some inspiration for maybe alternate ideas besides healing potions. If you come up with something fun, leave it in the comments down below and I own all the rights to it. Everything that's in there. If you want to support the channel, you can always like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff you already know about. If you're feeling extra generous, you can always donate too. If you do, feel free to accept this high five. Yeah! If you didn't donate and you accepted that high five, give it the fuck back!